As female fighters begin to get greater opportunities in combat sports, the debate over equal pay and time in the ring continues. And Chantelle Cameron isn't the only one to hold back on her controversial yet reasonable opinions. The two-time world champ has stirred up a storm with her statement about women boxers' pay grade and their time in the ring. Keep watching to find out more. First up, Chantelle keen on making history. It's no secret that women have recently been making history in all sorts of fields. From science and politics to sports, we're seeing girl bosses dominate everything they do with absolute finesse. So it's not surprising when you hear more and more women pushing their boundaries and limitations to switching things up a bit. This is what Chantelle Cameron seems to be keen on doing too in the realm of female boxing, by making a call for a fight that's unprecedented. Chantelle recently revealed that her effort to make history by defending her world light welterweight title in 3-minute rounds instead of the usual 2-minute rounds was binned. Now, we all know that sanctioning bodies have previously expressed concerns about the safety of women's championship bouts, which are limited to a maximum of 10 2-minute rounds rather than the 12 threes faced by their male counterparts. Why, you ask? The WBC, which has a lot of clout when it comes to safety rules, has referred to research that shows women suffer from concussions at a higher rate than men, which is why it insists on shorter rounds. So when the 31-year-old from Northampton sought to defend her WBC and IBF titles over 10 3-minute rounds against Victoria Noelia Bustos, she and her trainer Jamie Moore were turned down with a firm no. The boxer claims she wants to write her own little story in history by playing the first 3-minute round bout in female boxing, which she'll think she'll have to sit on for a while. But despite a big no, she's still quite hopeful that someday this British boxer will be making history. I'm hoping it happens because I'd really like to perform 3-minute rounds. Next, Chantelle wants women to stop demanding more. Besides demanding a longer bout, Chantelle has also asked female boxers why cry for more if they can't play more. She's clearly quite hurt about not getting a piece of that historic cake she wanted so bad, and she's gone on to make a controversial and somewhat problematic statement that hasn't sat very well with her contemporaries. Chantelle believes she and other female boxers shouldn't be asking for a bigger share of revenue if their fights are barely even half as long. And if the push ever comes to shove, she's willing to take the lead. Chantelle said, "We can't claim we want equal pay when we're just performing 2-minute rounds." She thinks if you fight in a 6-round fight, you'll not be paid the same as if you fight in a 12-round fight. The same goes for the length of rounds. If they box 2-minute rounds, they'll not be paid the same as men. So this is how it'll work. The fans get more too. Over 3 minutes, the boxers will be able to sit on their punches. The extra minute would mean more stoppages in a match, which is exactly what the viewers want to see. Women's boxing is currently all action over 2 rounds, so you may lose a part of that if it's increased to 3 minutes. But the 3-minute bouts will add a lot more than just pure organic action that may get too much for the audience at times. This suggestion comes at a time when Chantelle is looking relentlessly upbeat about her career, which hasn't always been the case really. She's gone through a pretty bad patch, and as a boxer with 16 wins in a row, she's also had thoughts of walking away from the ring, claiming, "I was applying for random jobs on job agency websites." Cameron fell off the radar again last year after her big fight with Mary McGee, just when she was hyped up for the next bout and a much-awaited one against Callie Reese. But the fight never took place. She was put in limbo and gradually disappeared from the scene. And now Amanda versus Katie has Chantelle in awe. Now, Cameron is desperate more than ever to get back on the women's boxing wave, with Taylor and Amanda Serrano taking the sport to new heights and Claressa Shields versus Savannah Marshall set to take place later this year. Chantelle claims she's in awe of Katie Taylor's recent win over Amanda Serrano in what was the first female fight to headline Madison Square Garden. So now the British boxer too, with an impressive record of 16-0, 8 KOs, wants her share of history by setting herself apart. The bout, dubbed as the biggest women's fight in history, lived up to the hype and left Cameron speechless. It left all of us speechless, actually. The thrilling bout between Katie and Amanda was a game-changer for women's boxing. We'd say it's a watershed moment for the sport. There's no doubt it was like a man's fight. Everyone was talking about it. Everyone was hyped up about it. Unfortunately, you rarely ever see such bouts in the realm of women's boxing, but this one was different and people were genuinely enthusiastic. It got an unprecedented 1.5 million television viewers on top of a sold-out crowd of nearly 19,000 at Madison Square Garden in New York. Katie and Amanda's purses, that's at least $1 million each, were huge for women's boxing, and since everyone was talking about the fight that week, it's definitely brought attention to the sport. And maybe it'll encourage promoters to dig a little deeper into their pockets and pay female boxers their rightful share. So it's not surprising that Chantelle would hope to fight fight on a stage like that one day, maybe against Taylor, who, by the way, had previously been linked to a fight and was defeated by her at the amateur level. What they achieved for women's boxing is tremendous. It's only going to get stronger. Chantelle thinks that after this thrilling fight, more women in the sport will have more opportunities. We're sure those are the kinds of nights any boxer would dream about. Chantelle claims she was desperate and kept wondering, God, will I ever have that opportunity? Cameron unified the 140-pound division by defeating Mary McGee last October and beat Victoria Bustos with a landslide victory, retaining her WBC and IBF World Women's Super Lightweight titles just recently. She's in a league of her own, so we don't see why she wouldn't get an opportunity like Taylor Serrano. Lastly, will the fight against Reese finally take place? Chantelle has been rubbing her hands together at the very prospect of facing Callie, but she says she's over it. With so much happening in the past year, she's no longer keen on putting all her eggs into that basket. Now her sights are set on changing things up a bit for women's boxing and making history by fighting 3-minute rounds against whoever her next opponent is. Would it be Katie Taylor or Callie Reese? Or even better, both? We'd absolutely love to watch the trio face off in 3-minute rounds, and hope those calling the shots take notice of this too. Great potential for a lot of bucks, guys. Next, in other news, Katie Taylor bags #1 on pound-to-pound rankings. Things seem to be looking incredibly good for Katie Taylor. Following the thrilling match against Amanda Serrano, she maintains her pound-for-pound lead in the ESPN women's rankings, but the fight for #2 continues. Katie won a split decision over Amanda in one of the best fights of the year. In front of a sold-out Madison Square Garden in New York, a back-and-forth struggle was decided by scorecards of 96-93 and 97-93 for Taylor and 96-94 for Serrano, who dropped a spot to two-division undisputed champion Claressa Shields as a result of the loss, coming at #3. And now, Moneo dominates Rodriguez. On the other hand, Mayra Moneo, the Fede-Latin lightweight champion of the WBA, made her first defense in Argentina against local Sofia Rodriguez. Moneo was declared the winner with 2 cards of 190 and one of 99.91. La Panterita had won the regional belt in February of last year, again in Argentina, and with the same zeal on the scoreboards. The bout was dominated by the local, who was dubbed Lobita by her corner for the efficiency of her punches, which appeared to be able to halt the Uruguayan train in front of her. But Moneo continued to soar until the last bell. With 2 knockouts and only 1 loss, the Fede-Latin champion improved her record to 10 victories, while Rodriguez has dropped to 5 victories and 6 losses. Finally, Chloe Watson ready to face Farah Al-Busairi. In another upcoming bout, Chloe Watson says she's ready to shine as she prepares to face Farah Al-Busairi in front of her home crowd in Liverpool as part of a huge night of free-to-air boxing. The former Team GB boxer has spent her entire life training for a moment like this, fighting on a nationally televised card in her hometown. But her opponent, Al-Busairi, isn't traveling from Spain just to make up the numbers. With an impressive record of 4-2, 1 KO, Watson knows she's up for a challenging fight that's taking place in a couple of weeks. And that's a wrap for this video. Do you think it's time female boxers spent as much time in the ring as their male counterparts? Comment below and let us know. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more. See you in the next one.